which is just kind of a smorgasbord of tips on staying in control of your content. There's 8 points that I'll make. The first one is tips on managing tags. Second one is how to manage missing definitions. These are placeholder definitions, that yellow plus sign. Number 3, if you embed URLs anywhere in your data cookbook, how do you keep track of their accuracy? Are they still valid URLs? 4, IData offers an ODBC portal that you can utilize to report against your own data cookbook. We'll talk about the views we offer for that ODBC connection. Number 5, how do you figure out stuff that gets stuck in your workflows? Things that languish there for weeks, maybe months. How do you discover those? How do you stay on top of that? Number 6, how to use a standard stage to stay on top of, or to put more of a, stay in control of material as it passes through a workflow. 7 is also a workflow related, a little more granular, how to get engaged with steps that you aren't the main actor in, but how do you introduce yourself into a step as a secondary actor, as a backup, so to speak. And the last, number 8, looking at this role, I'm calling it Content Manager for today, just to have a label for it. Sometimes that's a data steward in a specific area plays the Content Manager role for their area. So sometimes it's decentralized, it's a shared role, but other times it's a centralized role. So the tips that I'm going to talk about today, whether you're centralized or decentralized, you can practice these things to help get a grip on your content. So let's go over each of these in detail. So number 1, the first thing I do for each of these is to kind of remind folks on the call, if you're not 100% familiar with what these things are, I'll do a review of it, and then I'll talk about the content management aspect of it. Also, let me back up here. If you want to take a screenshot, I'll pause for a second. If you want to take a screenshot of this page, and put that in a place that you can see, you just might enjoy seeing that on another monitor. I'm going to be bouncing back and forth now between the slide deck and the actual data cookbook. So for managing tags, tags are, get that a little bit bigger. Tags are able to be added to definition objects and specifications and collections. They are a filter on all 3 of those things. This is the definitions browse page, so there's the tag filter for definitions. The tag set is the same, it's shared, whether the tag was added or is used in either definition spec or collection. It's all one list of tags. You can add a tag in 2 ways. You can do it under academic advising, or excuse me, you can do it at the definition. So here's the definition for academic advising, and the tag over here, let's click on the pencil and add, just add a new tag there. You can see too if I have other, it'll prompt, it'll respond to your typing as well. Click the plus sign and click done. So there's the tag added from the object's perspective. And that tag is then immediately available in those browse drop-down lists. The other place where tags can be added is from the master tag list page found under the organization tab. This is all the tags created and an inventory of what they're attached to. To delete a tag, you have to go to you have to disconnect it from any content that it's attached to. And if the tag was originally created from the object itself, like you saw me do with the workflow demo example, If I disassociate that from that definition, it'll drop from this master list. However, if down at the bottom, if you add the tag on the master page, you can never delete it. You can submit a support ticket to us and we'll delete it for you, but there's a permanence to the tags that are added from the master page here. Even if you disconnected it from all other objects, it would still remain on the tag page. So let's talk about from a content management perspective, what do you want to watch for or manage about this? First of all, my list is particularly sloppy to demonstrate worst practices. You see a mix of case, of acronyms or abbreviations. This is in all caps. This is not capitalized at all. So this is you want to control how it's typed, whether it's title case, or you want to set a standard for that. The other standard to set on it is what's the purpose of the tag? And I've got a couple purposes here. One purpose is a way to collect items for demonstration or training purposes. So here is quality demo, tech demo, workflow demo, workshop demo, which is today, maybe best practice. Those are all for training purposes. And then there's other tags that are topical. Faculty, biodemo for biographical, demographical, KPI. So those are kind of sub topics, right? You don't want to have a functional area for that topic, but you do want to be able to filter all your content by it. So it's a topical tag. So there's a mix, there's a blend here of purpose. And you may or may not find that suitable because the tag list needs to be scannable, just understood quickly. And if you've got apples and oranges there, maybe people have a little bit of a struggle interacting with the list on the whole. So from a content management perspective, let's stay on that purpose of the tag first. So over here on my definition, returning back to my definition for academic advising, I'm utilizing the help text feature. And I used it in two ways. One is on that red text in the mouse over, I added a sentence that clearly stated what the purpose for tags were. In this account, usage is restricted for training purposes. And I utilized what's called an emphasis tag there to alert people that here's some instructions on how you're supposed to use this. That's a way, if I've made a decision, if you make a decision to use tags in a specific way, you can use the help text feature to reinforce that usage pattern. Also from a content management perspective, you obviously on a scheduled basis, and you'll hear me say on a scheduled basis regularly here on the call today, you want to look at your list of tags. Is it accurate? Is it according to standard? Are there things here that you suspect are no longer in use? Are there things that stay on the list for months but only have one or two things on them? Are there tags there that are synonyms? People didn't realize a colleague already made a similar looking tag. So those are the things you're looking for. You can either scan this list or just go to the main page and manage your list of tags from there as well. Moving on from number one, let's go to number two. Manage missing definitions. These are an aspect in the definitions area. We're going to go, actually I could have gone here. We're going to go to the definition for meal plan. Missing definition is the IData word for a placeholder for a definition that you haven't created yet. So as you write the definition for meal plan, you realize you also would like to define food kiosk, but you don't want to take the time right now to write that definition. So you drop a placeholder or a pin here with this yellow plus sign, and that'll create a placeholder for that, and you can return to it later. So how do you find it again when you come back later? Under the definitions area, there is a missing definitions list. And this will list, on the left-hand side are the definitions that need to be written. This is what you are placeholding. And in the second column, source definition, this is the parent definition, which is where the pin was dropped. So interacting from a content management perspective on these missing definitions, obviously pay attention to the create date, and you can click on that title. That my oldest one is from 2018. If I click on create date, you see I just put it in reverse chronology there. The last one was added in February of this year. So again, in tandem with a previously determined standard, missing definitions must be cleaned up within 3 months, within 90 days of creation. You would visit this page, see what's older than 90 days, and then take whatever the action might be that you then write the definition yourself and get it started, whether you were the creator or not. Could be that you choose to delete it and just say, change your mind, say we don't want to create this definition after all. So whatever, so there's two pieces to that. One is what's your cutoff, 60-day, 90-day, 30-day? And then what are the allowable actions you can take once that threshold has been passed? That's one of the reasons why this is important. Let's take a look at, you can approve a definition and not define your pin drops. Here's the definition for a complete online course. It is approved. Actually, I think meal plan was approved as well, actually. Here's 3 of them. So it is possible to do that. Okay, let's move on to number 3, which is manage URLs embedded within definitions. Or could be a URL could be embedded in any other object as well. Let's take a look at, again, from a definition area. Let's look at visa classification. This has a URL in it pointing to an external source. URLs, they can point internally or externally. This one points out externally to a .gov, which is more information on student visas. You can embed these URLs in any text box. Specification has several, and collections has several text boxes. Quality module also has a couple text boxes available to you for enterprise clients. If you've dropped it, if we're just talking definition, obviously this Omni search will search your definitions, but the same search will also work as the browse search for each of the object types. So if you were looking for URLs that were embedded in specifications, again, you can't use this because that's only definitions, but you could go to the browse search page and search for it there. So I got ahead of myself. What are you searching for? Let's go back to definitions and use our Omni search. So if I just type in HTTPS, it'll pull up, I think there's 7 or 8 definitions, and each one of these has a URL embedded in the functional definition. The other search protocol that you can use is if you set a standard to preface the URL with a certain phrase. I systematically use CURL:. So if I type in CURL, I do get the same list. It's very similar to the HTTPS search. I just personally like having 2 different ways to go about it. I think it's a little more, just some redundancy there that's nice, that I like. Searching on plain URL is not advisable. If I search on just URL, it brings up some noise because the phrase URL appears. Here we have exempt, non-exempt, standard hours, hourly, HOURLY. Doesn't appear in the visual there. It's probably somewhere else, or it is somewhere else in that definition. But here we have hourly URL. So it just pulls up noise. I find it's cleaner to, again, either use the HTTPS or use the create a standard preface language. So the process from a content management is, number one, set your standard for a preface text. And then number two, on a scheduled basis, keyword search your preface language, either in the OmniSearch or visit each of the browse searches for your other objects and look at the list that's retrieved, and then just manually click on the URL to make sure it still points in the accurate and the correct direction. So it's manual checking of each one. But you're going to be more accurate if you control the keyword search retrieval for it. Okay, number 4, let's introduce the ODBC. So ODBC is a protocol that lets you connect directly into your own Data Cookbook client, to the database side of your Data Cookbook client. The first thing you do is set it up under the organization area in the settings area. If you're not sure if somebody's already done that for your organization, navigate to the settings tab, and about halfway down the page, there is database access. ODBC is turned off for this account. So to turn it on, you just submit a support ticket. You can do it here, or you could submit a regular support ticket through your directly via email and request access, and we will grant it. We can grant it within about 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, very quick. And once you have access, it's up to you to write those queries and to develop a dashboard that meets your business objectives in understanding what you want your content to do. We offer 15 views, and we have documented each of those views as a specification. How about that? And we publish those specifications in the community under the IData name. So again, there was a click here link there in your account in the ODBC request area, and then this is the explanation of the 15 views that are offered through that ODBC access. So you can read about each one. Let's look at definition versions. So if you click on each title, you can drill further. It's a specification, and it explains what you'd be looking at through that view. It gives you some more technical information on how to engage with that. So there's 15 views. To kind of bring some of those to life, I think what's the interesting ones are tracking the view. How many definitions are viewed? What are your top 50 most frequently viewed definitions or most frequently viewed quality rules, right? For each object, which ones are popular to be viewed? Another powerful use of ODBC is if you are utilizing custom fields, also called additional attributes. Maybe you have a calculation flag on your definitions that lets you flag if that definition is derived from a calculation. Maybe you're tracking FERPA or PII content inside a report. So you set a specification additional attribute for a checkbox if this contains PII. You can create up to 10 additional attributes for each object type. Okay. But as you know from the native Data Cookbook interface, you can't search by that, by any of your own custom attributes. Well, ODBC lets you do that, and you can then extract and filter your own content by your own custom fields. A third view that is interesting is pulling out all of the comment text And so you can see what are the areas of content that receive the most comments and what are people commenting on. That would be a window into usage, to understanding. If people are understanding the content, what other content should be added. But you can see a window into that conversation, that chatter that people would drop into the comment boxes. Next interesting view is which definitions and specifications undergo multiple versions. You can just do a version count and then you just ask, sort it by the most frequently versioned things. Which definitions have been versioned 10 times or 12 times? What specifications get versioned a lot? It just, again, gives you insight into the areas of activity and of engagement in your content. Last example that I'll touch on for a view is you can view all open workflow tasks. So as a personal user, you can track your own task activity through your own homepage. But if you're a content manager, how can you see all the tasks across all the users? And ODBC gives you a view to do that. So several views into your cookbook content through ODBC would support content management. 5 is identifying objects that are stuck within workflows. So you're looking for aging, what takes a really long time or hasn't moved through workflows. Where are the bottlenecks in workflows? And the way that you stay on top of this is through the queue feature, Q-U-E-U-E. Each of the object types has a queue. Here's the definition queue, Q-U-E-U-E. Specifications queue, collections queue, quality issue queue, 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 queue. Each object has a queue. And that is the way to slice and dice across the content by stages of the workflow. So from the definition, there's a couple points to make on this, on the queue feature area. Without changing, well, let's focus on these 2 checkboxes. First of all, I would keep closed, hide closed objects. I don't want to see. If you're already approved through a workflow, I don't need to see those. Available for action by me, well, I want to see available for action for everybody. I was on admin before and after, so my account stayed at 290. But if I back off my admin view as a personal user, I would only have 3 things available for action for me in this account. And my goal here as a content manager is to see everybody's actions. So uncheck that. And even so, without interacting with any of the filters on these 2 rows, it's interesting to just do dates. So my oldest definition is still open, was started in August of 2017. It's almost 3 years old. Okay, this is a demo account. Okay. And then you can just go further down to see the list. So there's just a simple sort that can be beneficial at that level. To add more refinement to it, let's talk about the second row of filters first. These 4 filters interact with each other like Boolean logic. So let's take functional area, let's go enrollment. So of my 290, I now have 141 are in the enrollment functional area. Most of them are in the enrollment functional area. So this can give you some insight as to where what areas. I don't have very many, I only have 4 in admissions, etc. If I go back to enrollment, and then if I chose data system is which technical definitions are created. So there's 4 subset. I can then take enrollment off and still then see across the board, there are 7 across all my functional areas. Originator is the person who started the definition or started the version, the current version. It's not the data steward necessarily. And then data security classification is the last one. So those 4 filters act as Boolean operators. They work alone, or you can Boolean and them with each other. Let's clear all those. Let's talk about the filter on top. So this filter set, moving from left to right, is dependent. There's a dependency as you move from left to right. The first thing you choose is the type of object that you want to queue up. We're going to stay on the definition one, but that's a convenient way to just navigate, scroll through all your object types and see the queue. So let's stay with definition. So as I choose definition, there on my workflow definition, my workflow list then lists all my active workflows. So in order to engage with this, you need to be familiar with your workflows. You know, which ones, what are these different workflows? Why are there different workflows? You need to have some familiarity with your workflow structure. I'm going to bounce out of this without choosing one to show that dependence. So there are no stages and there are no actions because I have not chosen a workflow yet. As soon as I choose a first workflow, my page will refresh and then my stages will appear. There are 3 stages in this workflow. I still don't have any actions because actions are dependent on once I pick a stage, then I will see my list of the transition actions that are available to exit that stage. So again, there's just a left to right dependency in those 4 filters on the top row. To kind of pull all this together, if you are wanting to monitor where the data stewards, which data stewards, or if data stewards are bottlenecks, it would require that you are familiar with the workflow and that you know that their action occurs in the data steward stage. So you first filter to that stage, then you would further filter it by the particular subject or functional area. And then from that you would infer which data steward was the bottleneck. You cannot, they're not going to be the originator. This is just the person who started that object, not the data steward necessarily. So this is walking you through the definition approval queue. The other approval queues too, they require some depth of awareness of how your data cookbook is structured, and then you can use it systematically to retrieve the data that you need for your business purposes. So some of this is replicated in the ODBC views, but this queue feature is embedded natively in the user interface. Also note that this is as of today, so to do this on a regular scheduled basis would keep you abreast of what's happening. Okay, let's go to a couple more workflow related ones. Create a standards review stage in maybe not every workflow, but some of them, or as for the objects that you want to monitor as closely as possible. So here is the standards review stage, usually at the end of the workflow, and that whoever the actor there has the final approval on something. The things that are being reviewed there from a content management perspective, you want to articulate specifically what are you reviewing. Things are in 2 categories. One is editorial control. How's the spelling? How's the grammar? How's the copy editing? What's the use of title case? Are there complete sentences? What's the use of acronyms? Is the writing understandable? Is it understandable for someone outside of that scope or area? And then are the participants who provided content using the fields correctly? If you have a policy on tags, was it observed? If you have policies on the specifications for use of the selections tab or use of attachments or use of the sort tab for certain spec templates. Was that followed? So the standards review is not a subject matter expertise, it's a content standards looking for cohesion and consistency and adherence to the standards. So a kind of a similar point number 7 is also workflow related. So this is a more granular control. This is the idea where you put yourself as the content manager in some steps, maybe all the steps, or you give yourself a step in every stage of the workflow. So you're there at every point in the process. It's a silent step. Sometimes I call it the courtesy step. There's always somebody else who's the main actor. But it allows you as the content manager in this example to shadow those people or this activity and step in as needed. Usually the email alerts are turned off so that you're not inundated with that volume of work. But if you need to step in to help someone at a certain point, you can do that if you have a role, if you've given yourself a step and the ability to act in that stage. This graph is the steps worksheet from the workflow administrative module. So there's 2 steps that happen simultaneously, as you'll recall. Multiple steps within a single stage happen simultaneously, while the second step is really silent, only there as needed. So this setup of the shadowing of the data stewards might be what you would set up for yourself, returning back to this stage in this data steward review stage. Again, data stewards have the main job to play, but you're there in the event that they need to be shadowed. I think that, to me, this is a multi-step, putting yourself in every stage as a step helper. It's more of a training approach. I think once the participants in the earlier stages are confident in their work and active, then you just need to be at the end for the standards review. But so those are 2 ideas of how to insert yourself into workflow. And then the last point is just a couple comments on the role of content manager and to be intentional about carving out that role. Content manager is if it's not a data steward, just an independent person. It's a neutral party, and you're there for editorial and usage standard adherence. I do have clients who have a full-time 1 FTE as the content manager. They also tend to write a lot of documentation and provide a lot of face-to-face training for the Data Cookbook product. But I think at a minimum, a half-time FTE is ideal, but I recognize reality. For some schools, it's a quarter time. And as I said also earlier, sometimes this person is a data steward. So if you are data steward for admissions, you would practice these tasks within your area and stay focused in your functional area. Or if you're a report writer, if you're a manager in certain areas of reporting deliverables in the specifications area, you would be responsible for maybe all of the content under a certain specification type. So you can distribute the work. So what are the summary kind of wrap-up comments? Well, I showed you 8 tips. You may think of more. Practice some of them, all of them, practice any of them, and your content will be stronger. Decide who's going to play the role and how the role is structured. Write down what the plan is. So it should be part of what is in your standard documentation for Data Cookbook on your data governance page. It is a Data Governance Act. or it counts as data governance work to be taking oversight view as to on your metadata. Then the last point is in the summary is to think about, so all the work you've done to manage that content, leverage it. There's a value add here, and take that material and turn it around and publish it as marketing information. So how many definitions were through your ODBC connection? How many definitions were put in this month? What areas had the most growth? What areas moved through workflow the fastest? In general, what's the average speed of something moving through workflows? So take that information that you gained through your management of content and publish monthly or semi-annual reports to your stakeholders or even to the workflow content users to keep them apprised of the content. It demonstrates engagement in the product, and it counts as data governance activity.